Ha
Haha!
Hello, demon.
Hello, demon.
Hi!
Good evening to the future, and welcome to Philly by Night. Philly by Night is a 5th edition Vampire the Masquerade game set against the backdrop of the City of Brotherly Love. Due to the fact that it takes place in a world of darkness, this session may contain and is not limited to body horror, mutilation, manipulation, gaslighting, the use and abuse of disciplines, raised voices, the possibility of violence leading up to final death, possible discussion of methods of torture, starvation, and the mentions of and religious extremism. For your safety and comfort, your ST team has set up a series of emojis in the stoplight system, and we will be doing check-ins as the session goes. You may either state your color, post the corresponding emoji in beta chat, or just straight up tell me you are green, yellow, red, or blue. At any time, you can state your color or put it in the beta chat, even if we haven't asked you. Green thumbs up signifies I am okay, keep it coming. Yellow fist is we might be brushing up against a boundary. I might be okay, I might need to take a pause. Blue hand signifies I'm okay. And regardless of the wonderful acting you see on the screen in front of you and you hear in my voice, we are fine. I am okay. My character, however, is going through it. And the red thumbs down signifies I am not okay and we need to stop. If you are yellow, you may head to the decompression voice chat, or you may just ask to pause the scene for a moment to ask a clarifying question. If you are red, this is not a request, it is a requirement. The scene will stop. We will proceed to decompression. If you choose to do decompression by yourself, that is fine and that is acceptable, especially if a boundary has been breached. However, you will not be eligible to participate in another scene, either solo or coterie session, until you have spoken to a member of the ST team. That means Einar, myself, Ryan, or Kendall, not a moderator, an ST. That is also a requirement for your safety and mine. That said, how are we doing tonight, Sharkie?
Sharkie's doing pretty well. He's done a lot of stuff like this in the past. Not exactly like this, but like what's going on right now. But he's traveled a lot, with his old group. He's moved around quite a bit, and so he's not really taken aback by having to be moved to a new city to do some work. First time he's gone without his Malwa, but he thinks he can handle it.
I mean, and if worse comes to worse, Philadelphia is only about 5 hours away from Hampton Roads by car.
So it's not even that bad. It's not even that far. No, it's not dangerous. You can do that in a night.
Yeah. You can do that in a night and still have half the night to piss off your mala.
So like I said, he feels like this will go well. He feels confident. So
how confident would he continue to feel when given the address he is to meet his contact in this new city at, which would be Eastern State Penitentiary?
he would be a little bit more hesitant. However, it's a little on brand, considering he does know he does know the clan of the person who he's meeting with. So, that's not something they tend to do some weird stuff like that. So he's not so scared, but he is a little nervous. The nerves set in a little bit.
An old antique, and if rumors can be trusted, well, if you can really call Google rumors, one of the more haunted buildings inside the city limits.
That freaks him out a little bit. Because he can't he doesn't he's not afraid of ghosts. He just can't see them. So he's a little nervous when he reads that it's haunted. Because I bet Sharkie's probably dealt with ghosts before, to one degree or another. Probably, I would think. Not
New York and points north, up and down the East Coast. Yeah, chances are pretty good.
Yeah, so he knows that they exist, hoping they don't really exist here. So suddenly his confidence level drops. But he knows that he's got to project an air of confidence. Because that's what he does.
Is he projecting gangrel confidence? Or is he projecting Ventrue confidence?
That's a good question. That's a good question. He doesn't really have any gangrel role model figures, so probably Ventrue confidence.
That would make sense to me too. Just that kind of I am the CEO false bravado that every Ventrue he's ever met walks into a room with.
Yep, just that false, sort of chest puffed out. I could buy this entire building. Mindset.
Not a bad plan. Not a bad plan. Eastern State Penitentiary is an historic building that they've converted into essentially a combination of museum of some of the horrible ways that prisoners were treated in the early Americas and a sort of haunted house tourist attraction. So it would not be uncommon to see members of the public still hanging around after dark, considering it is a bit of a tourist trap. Not exactly the busy season, but the place is not entirely empty. Sharkie would get a text message making him aware that he was looking for a member of the janitorial staff on the grounds as opposed to in the building itself.
He's gonna make, if that's the case, if he's looking for janitorial staff on the grounds, it's a little suspicious for somebody to just show up and start walking around the grounds asking for where the janitorial staff are. So he's gonna go up. He's gonna go up to the ticket booth, buy a ticket for the attraction for the night, and then he's gonna excuse himself and then start searching the grounds, because at least then he's got a ticket. He's not in. If somebody questions him, he can be like, I'm just taking a look around and show off the ticket.
That's it. That's a pretty solid plan.
So, yeah, he's going to do that, and then he's going to look around for his contact. He knows he's a Nosferatu, and he knows he's a member of the janitorial staff. But he doesn't know if he's looking. But that can mean anyone, and if he's using a certain power, I may not even notice him. So he's trying real hard to look for him.
May in Philadelphia is not exactly the coolest weather. So roll me a wits and awareness or favor.
Wits and awareness for.
I would also accept an argument for investigation because he knows what he's looking for, essentially.
That is the same pool. Am I at hunger 1 or hunger 2?
You are at hunger 1 because you used the willpower to up your score.
Cool. 2 successes.
You do manage to meet the difficulty because, quite honestly, it's not going to be very difficult to notice a individual wearing a beanie and long sleeve coveralls with the sleeves pulled all the way down in mid-May.
That's him. Well, he's going to approach this man. A little warm out for a beanie, don't you think?
That's a presumptuous greeting, Mr. Knox.
Well, I'm nothing if I'm not presumptuous.
That is, in fact, what I'd heard. I'm hoping the other things I had heard are equally as accurate.
Well, I suppose you'll have to find out, won't you? Sort of cracks a smile.
Indeed. And he's going to finish the charade that he was doing of taking out the trash and then turn and walk toward an outbuilding. It looks sort of like those little trailers that they set up when schools don't have quite enough classrooms to accommodate their class sizes.
He's going to follow, but he's also going to keep an eye out to make certain that there's no unexpected visitors around.
Roll me another wits and awareness. The difficulty is fairly low.
I don't want to be caught off guard. 1 success.
That'll do it. Nobody seems to be looking at you, because after all, who really notices the janitorial staff? I mean, Sharkie's not dressed like staff, but his contact certainly is.
No one's going to be looking this direction.
Who's really looking at staff?
If they're heading into the building,
Mhm.
Jamie would make certain to ask for an invitation in before he is allowed into the building. As a matter of course. This is a Camarilla city after all.
It is. But your contact is not Camarilla.
Well, doesn't mean you don't give the right of domain.
You know what? I'll buy that for $1.
Look, any kindred is scary, and if you step on their turf, sometimes they'll be they can be not happy.
I'll buy that for $1. He's gonna get a look. It's fairly clear that if this man had eyebrows, they would probably be raised. But he's still gonna do the formal, "Would you like to come in, Mr. Knox?"
Yes, I would. Thank you. So
Inside,
he
inside, the
he
place is set up like a makeshift office, right? There's a couple of desks, a TV hanging on one wall. It probably serves in daylight hours as a break room for the staff.
nice place you got here.
I would tell you that it was not bugged and not stuffed with cameras, but considering the family we both know that I belong to, you would be a fool if you believed me.
Well, I'm gonna do you a favor and not look for the cameras because there's no way I'd find them all. And I don't plan on saying anything that, is too incriminating unless you wish to dive into certain topics.
Well, I will tell you that any devices are only in the hands of those that we would deem safe for certain propriety reasons within the city. After all, we are in the domain of the tower.
Indeed, we are. Means we got to be extra careful around here.
Not as careful as you might think. Not here.
What do you mean?
Are
I mean,
are you not curious as to why we would specifically ask for you and not your Mala?
well, my assumption was we needed somebody who knew how to handle finance, and well, I love Michel. He's a little, he's not exactly the best with money.
A Ventrue who can't manage math?
I mean, he's not bad at it. His skills just, lend him in different places. I'm just a little better.
Do me a favor. Will you roll your wits and awareness, please?
One success.
You're lucky these difficulties are shit low, but like for as entertaining as this conversation is, you would be hard pressed not to notice the fact that there is a giant black crow perched on top of the coat rack in this makeshift office.
And the crow's head is turned like 45 degrees back and forth looking at you like it's trying to figure out what the fuck you are.
He looks at the black crow. He looks back at his contact. Is that one of yours? Or
This is Naomi, I think.
Naomi?
Sometimes, uh, shit. I'm sorry. I had a moment. What is the name of the other crow? My
Hugin.
brain won't pull it up. Hugin.
Hugin. Or Hunin, sorry. It's Munin and Hunin. Or no, it's Hugin, sorry. Blah.
Hugin. Munin and Hugin. Okay.
This
So,
is Hugin.
that's
This is not
Naomi,
Hugin.
I think. Or Hugin. It's really hard to tell crows apart.
Well, if she's gonna join us, it's rude to just sit and not join in the conversation. Don't you think? Then again,
Crow will flap off of the coat rack and then land on the desk in front of Sharkie and just like stare at him for a moment or two, like, what is this? And then you blink, and then suddenly there is let's see here. Let's throw it in beta chat here for you. Is this redhead dressed as such, barely anything, sitting cross-legged on the desk in front of you, between you and your contact, as it were. And she just goes, "What the fuck are you, a Ventrue or a gangrel?" How do you know more math than a fucking Ventrue? Where do you get off on that?
Well, first off, I'm a little bit younger, so my math's a little bit better by nature. Secondly, you should know that clan titles don't mean much in our little family. It's just a descriptor of where you come from. Doesn't mean that matters what you are.
Were you raised by this Ventrue?
Yeah, actually, it was.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. A lot of sense. Well, we're gonna have a fun association. We are. And she'll hop off the desk and run and basically walk around the front and sit on the side of the desk facing Sharkie, so she's no longer blocking the view between Davis and him. But she's gonna sit on there.
Introduce yourself properly, Naomi. After all, I have never, not once, gotten the pronunciation of your last name anywhere near correct.
That's okay, you're not Scottish. I don't hold it against you. I mean, anyways. I am Naomi of Clan Dubgale. Most of the folk in this country anglicize it to McDowell, so whatever your tongue would like. You can just call me Naomi, though. Anything else and I'll have to kill you.
So never refer you as Miss McDowell. Understood.
She gets up off the desk and Gibb slaps him on the side of the head and then goes back and sits down. Yeah, kind of like that.
Got it. Understood.
Naomi, this is Monsieur Jamie Knox.
Just Jamie's fine. Or Knox if you prefer. Or Sharkie.
Most recently
Sharkie.
from our Hampton Roads branch.
Huh. I haven't had the pleasure of visiting that branch yet, but happy to see someone from up that way. Sharkie, does it mean you can swim with the fishes, as the Italians like to say?
Well, my name is actually Sharkie because I like giving people loans. And then feeding off of them. But yes, I can swim with the fishes.
So you can't even swim like a shark. You can't even turn into a shark.
I can turn into an aquatic animal.
Okay. There's hope for you yet. I don't have to fix all of you. But we're gonna have to take some of that ventureness out of you. Because no one needs that. There's too many Ventrue in this world.
There are too many Ventrue in this city as well, but it does give us an interesting inn. Don't you think?
I will admit that you might be right about that. Still.
So, Monsieur Knox, what do you think you know about this assignment?
Well, as I was understood, this is based on the secrecy of it, I was assuming this is likely some level of undercover. Uh, I'm a member of an independent clan. I don't know if they're independent here, but they're independent in many areas, meaning for the most part, I can fly under the radar. So, you know, with that in mind, I figured that my goal here was likely to secure a bit of influence for a beachhead, so to speak. Maybe not an aggressive one, but a beachhead nonetheless.
Yes, in some respects, but also, and horrifically, no.
I think this might be the moment that we get to tell him about the unique position that we occupy here. It might lend him help to formulate his very stick-like plans.
We are both undercover and not. You see, though Michel does not understand necessarily the utility of what it is we do. I had been led to believe from the Master and Second in Virginia Beach that you would be more amenable to the idea that violence and bloodshed is often counterproductive to our long-term goals.
I would agree. I find violence abhorrent for the most part. Useful, but abhorrent.
And I do imagine it would depend upon how you see our long-term goals. You see, the short-sighted among us believe that our goals are territory, domain. Is that a belief you subscribe to as well?
I believe territory is a means to an end. Territory might help us bring down those that are problem to us. I know the goal of the Sabbat as a whole is to take down the antediluvians in the end, and we need to have power in order to do that.
That is what they say the goal is, and then they react in ways that are quite counterproductive to the actual goal.
So many of them are blinded by their anger at the tower. Quite honestly, that's why, on occasion, me and Michelle have gotten into a bit of a row about it. Tower's useful. Members of the tower are useful. They at least keep their word.
And we are in a city in which the tower, as it stands, is useful. If our goal is to relieve ourselves of the threat, the eldest among us, having a city that has the power of the Ivory Tower, has their resources, has their laws, which behave in very predictable ways, and is not completely antagonistic to that idea, would be useful. Do you not agree?
I agree wholeheartedly. I
And
think I'm beginning to like the sound of this.
miraculously tolerates our presence. It helps that the Signor let them wage their little coup from here.
More than tolerates our presence. In fact, uh, the prince owes the Senor a bit of a debt. And the prince has allied himself and, in fact, married himself to Senor Santiago's childer.
Interesting.
Our presence is more than just tolerated, it is accepted.
Hold on.
There's a certain matter of labels, though. I mean, that there's still some certain words that will cause some ruffled feathers. So, I believe you could look at Davis. We've decided on emissaries of the Sanctuary Network for now.
That is our role here, yes. Hence the undercover aspect.
That's easy. I mean, we are emissaries to the Sanctuary Network. We don't need to tell them much more than that.
I know, I'm a terrible liar.
Well, this is a much more fascinating opportunity than I thought we had. I do have questions on how you managed to pull off a seeming political alliance with the Tower through a blood marriage. Is it a blood marriage? Has to be a blood marriage.
Oh, rumors paint it as such. However, given how familiar I am with both parties, that does not seem to be the case.
Even more impressive in that respect. Well,
We've not had the pleasure of meeting this prince they've got in town, but I know his wife pretty well. She's my niece.
Once the rest of the staff
Yeah.
is assembled, we will.
Mhm.
The Prince Sexton is of a very particular religious affiliation, and part of their rites and practices includes fasting for a quarter of the year.
I understand. So definitely don't bring him a gift right now, a mortal gift. Got it.
It would be in poor taste, as the prince is fasting until the solstice. It also means that a group introduction will probably fray his patience a good deal less than individual introductions.
I think that's a wise plan. If our position may not be precarious, but we don't want to waste any capital that we don't need to at the moment. So a group introduction is probably for the best. We only got so much political capital right now.
And that means, though your usual tactics appear to be infiltration and strangling out competition, we will only need the first. It is in our best interest, at least for now, to prop up the position of the current regime.
Well, strangle out the regimes and the remaining enemies. That could be a good way to use your skills. Get them even more indebted to us.
I can do that. You know, act as a mercenary, do some do some financial work for the tower in that respect. So I'm not. So I'm not gonna. Oh, that sucks.
We are not
I
going
like
to
having all
fight.
the money.
That would be difficult in this situation. It is my understanding through certain contacts that Prince Sexton is the inheritor of two rather large Ventrue fortunes, in addition to the fortune left behind by the regime that they just overthrew in a coup.
Well, I wasn't gonna post the prince in the first place. That's well above and beyond my abilities, but a few small town players here. But I'll play nice with the members of the tower. I'll be a good little gangrel and let the Ventrue have their money.
There are several gangrel in the city, as at least in this city, they are full members of the court.
Yumi's just like looking at you like this, hands in her chin, like she's studying you.
We're recognized?
Yes, there's a gangrel primogen and a gangrel whip. A third gangrel sits to the right-hand side of Prince Sexton as one of his most trusted lieutenants. And one of the youngest of the gangrel runs the courier service.
Interesting.
We might have enough for a gather. And then we can, have you ever been to one of those, Mr. Knox?
Been to a gather. I've been to one once, long ago.
Well, that will have to change.
I should warn you that some of the gangrel in the surrounding area may be interesting to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
There are two elders that make their home in the mountains. They call the place Gangrel Summer Camp.
Good time.
When you say interesting, do you mean interesting as in fascinating or interesting as in might rip my head off?
One of one and two of the other.
It means that we need to get you some more time in the nature. That is what we're saying. That's what I'm saying. Because if I have you pegged, I would say your sire made you and then didn't come back for you. That's why you got picked up by a Ventrue and you've got all these highfalutin manners.
My sire made me and buried me 6 feet under.
Ah.
And I proved my worth.
Survivor.
So yeah,
I like it.
So you're right, I guess.
Very good then. That's it's always nice when you get the ones that are smart enough to make their way out. Since you're in the financial world, you may I'll put you in touch with my ghoul. His name's Ralphie. He's a bit of a forensic accountant, as it were. You might find his services useful.
I think I will. He sounds like a lovely man. Ralphie. Love it.
You just
There
make
is
sure.
also a young gangrel, brand new.
A child in the city?
Child of one of the prince's deputies, as a matter of fact.
Moon. Mm-hmm.
That'll be interesting. There's child in the city, that means that they're a fresh mind. Might be a useful recruit.
And every one of those fresh minds has been given access to certain religious texts.
Y'all have fragments of the book here?
They have more than one complete copy.
Where? There's a hunger that looks over his face.
There are at least 2 copies in the library. One of them is complete with Cuthbert Beckett's travel notes.
Beckett's notes.
The Keeper of Elysium is known to present copies that have been illuminated as gifts.
I'll have to take a look. If they're offered if they're offered to people, that seems mighty fascinating. Mighty fascinating indeed.
The name of the librarian is Rowan Everly.
Oh, what clan are they?
They are the adopted child of the prince, Hecata.
Oh, well, better than Tremere, very least.
From what
They
I
are
heard, he's a.
Hecata, so they should be right along your wavelength.
From what I've heard, they're more Ventrue than they are Hecata, so you should get along just fine.
I mean, a lot of them Giovanni types I've heard are that way, but I don't have much experience with them. Puttanesca. Oh. No, I have no clue who those are. That's a name that's new to me.
Giovanni, but petty crime.
Ah, yeah, I'll get along fine.
He's another that is fairly fresh. Recently promoted, is my understanding.
Seems like this city's really fresh from what I'm gathering here. Doesn't seem like many of them are super old.
Many of them are young, yes.
That's good to know, actually. The younger minds are easier to compel. Good.
I don't necessarily know that I would try that route, other than in an emergency.
No, I'm not gonna. I'm just saying, if we're accepted here, we might as well spread our message a little bit. I know we have to be careful, but might be able to start getting them to believe.
And many of them have heard the message and do. Many of the individuals who fought in this war and took control of the city in this coup, they have already been exposed to our teachings. In fact, they have been exposed to an individual whose faith is so strong, they have been known to perform acts of which no kindred should be capable.
Magic?
And of course, many of them met the Signor.
Yeah, I've heard legends of stuff that he could do. The holy water thing is the big one. Are we? Is this some sort of hedge magic? The members of You're gonna have to fill me in here.
Senor Santiago believes that it is possible in certain extreme instances for our kind to make use of true faith.
Well, Al, damn. Huh. Interesting. I mean, I would guess since you haven't refuted this already, I feel like it must be true.
I have seen the things the man can do. I have seen the things that his child is capable of. From where that power comes, I could not say, but I have never seen its like.
Interesting. That is fascinating. I'm gonna have to pick your brain at some point about that. That seems like that could be a very interesting tool. Huh. Well, this seems like the beginning of a very fascinating mission.
Indeed. And one in which you would be uniquely suited. The city of Philadelphia, the port of Philadelphia it is a place for the unique.
Well, I guess I should probably get down to work then at some point pretty soon. For all, local check cashing businesses aren't gonna take over themselves.
We are havened here at the penitentiary.
This is our haven.
Yes.
You have a problem with a captive blood population? Is there no sporting it for you?
You know as well as I do this isn't an actual jail.
Look, I don't mind little captive blood, but I like them thinking that they're free. That's my preferred method. However,
our havens honeycomb beneath the penitentiary. Here is the map. Here is your key. It would be unwise to trample upon Prince Sexton's hospitality, at least until he can meet the emissary staff as a whole.
Yeah, I'm not going to push his hospitality until I can actually meet with him. Would it be considered in poor form for one of the emissary staff to maybe look into purchasing a haven for himself once we get... I don't know how this all is going to work.
I would imagine it would be very little trouble at all. So long as it is acceptable to the prince and to his seneschal.
Hmm. How do the domains look around here? Does it have to be in the forest or something?
No, you may hunt. Uh, as a member of the city, you may hunt and you may haven where you will. There are no clan divisions here.
Hold on, let me get this straight.
She's actually giggling in character.
Are we sure this is a Camarilla city?
Prince Sexton calls himself a Camarilla reformist.
Well, I'll be darned. I didn't think the tower had any of those. I'm absolutely shocked. So there's got to be. Hold on, there's got to be a catch. There's no clan. Is it like split up between like personal domains for like different individuals? No.
No, you may haven and you may hunt where you will.
Within the bounds of the Camarilla, that is.
Of course,
But there's
in the bounds of the city. It is not quite a free-for-all.
there are some. I hear some whispers of some baronies coming in, so you might have to negotiate with them for their favor in their lands. But Prince Sexton is kind of cordoned himself a nice little pot of the city, and seems to be, well, from what I've heard. I haven't met the man yet. That's why I'm still haunting these grounds.
Well, if the baronies are opening up, and if we've got, it puts us in a very interesting position. That puts us in a very interesting position.
The information is that the prince intends to make alliances amongst the baronies. In fact, his seneschal is reportedly in talks with one specific baron.
It's best we support those. We want the Camarilla to grow, it seems like, in this city. It seems like this is a very interesting place to set up our web here.
We want Prince Sexton to succeed, not necessarily the tower.
I mean, can you repeat that? Sorry.
We want Prince Sexton to succeed. Whether the tower does is immaterial.
Well, if the tower succeeds in this city, if how I understand how the tower, I've never been in the tower, so forgive me if I'm wrong. But if the tower succeeds in this city, that means Prince Sexton is succeeding. So we should make certain that he keeps his head on his shoulders and his crown on his head. God,
That is accurate.
I'm supporting the Ventrue Prince. Oh, I feel filthy.
If it makes you feel better, you would be more accurately supporting his Nosferatu spouse.
Sorry, John is very loud right now.
It's okay.
Background John is best, John.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that? You're a little quiet for me. My audio is bad.
If it helps you feel better, you would be more accurately supporting his Nosferatu spouse.
That does make me feel a little better. That makes me feel a lot better, actually. I didn't realize I could still throw up a little bit.
It's surprising what you can do when you embrace yourself.
So, Camarilla,
Mhm.
Towers, no domains. Prince is a reformist. Nosferatu wife is allied to us directly.
Mhm.
The old friar is basically running a secret cell underground. The
We
the
find
city's made up of
ourselves.
young people, and we don't have to hide our religious affiliation necessarily.
Correct. We don't have to hide the religious affiliation at all. It might be prudent not to mention the political affiliation.
So you see, we find ourselves in a very unique opportunity to perhaps instead of violence, to gather many to the same cause, only without the historical implications of some of the political bullshit that we find ourselves immersed in these nights. I, for one, am happy to see this, because this is what should have happened all along. I was there when they founded the fucking Camarilla, and I will be happy to see it used to a useful end.
Wait, how old are you?
Old enough.
That didn't feel threatening whatsoever. Um,
So I shouldn't ask you to go on a run in the woods. It'll do you some good. Put some wild in you. You need some. Too many Ventrue boardrooms. Next thing you're going to tell me is that you want to buy a haven that's a fancy house with all sorts of modern accoutrements.
I mean, I was thinking a haven in one of the rundown slums that I can use as one of my businesses, but that works too. Um. Also, though, I don't think I should be alone with you in any way, shape, or form. I feel like it might be best for my head to stay on my shoulders if I make certain that, like in this opportunity, there's always somebody in the room with me. Miss Naomi.
As long as you're useful and don't threaten our goals here, your pretty little head will stay on your pretty little shoulders. There's no cause to worry about it. Besides, head, or I can just plunge and she'll extend her claws, or I could just put my hand through your chest. It really doesn't matter to me. The hard way or the easy way. She'll undo the claw.
Which way would be the hard way?
Well, if I don't aim correctly, sometimes you gotta dig around in the chest a little bit.
Let's just keep my head on my shoulders. I think that's a good idea.
I'm sure you'll be very motivated in that direction. Yeah.
I am very motivated in that direction.
One additional order that I feel should be mentioned and hammered absolutely home by Naomi's particular brand of persuasion. There will be no circumstance in which you are to allow any harm to come to Alicia Sexton. The Keeper of Elysium is off limits.
also the one capable of those miracles, the Signor's child, and, well, informally my niece. So, fuck with anyone else you want. Don't fuck with her.
I had no plans of bringing any harm to Miss Sexton. Uh, I'll make certain that I will not allow any sort of violence to come to her. And indeed, I will make certain that if it is necessary, I will devote resources to protecting her. Does that sound fair?
Good. Then we are understood.
Toothy feral smile.
I would like you to roll a wits and awareness, please. And it's okay, because you might not know this squat.
I didn't put a hunger in on accident, but 2 successes with a bestial fail, technically, because that last one is a 1.
You don't notice shit.
Do I want to try to re-roll those 2 on the left?
It probably wouldn't hurt.
Might as well try. You got a nice 10 there.
Come on, Sharkie.
Ah, yay!
6 successes on it.
Much better. So you've been talking this entire time, and every once in a while you would just hear this weird sort of like pitter-patter sound, almost like rain. But it's not raining outside. Would Sharkie be the type to look around and try to figure out what the heck?
Sharkie's first instincts would be that we're being watched. So there's a moment where he's sitting back, just sort of talking. If he had like a whiskey glass in his hand, he's got that vibe of like, I'm sitting here, I'm having a chat. And then Naomi would see him sit forward. He begins tapping his fingers on the table as his claws begin to grow. I'm going to rouse for feral weapons. He gets hungrier.
Yay! 2, baby! And ultimately, just because of that critical, he's going to have that reaction, that immediate paranoia reaction, and grow claws out to impress Naomi with the feralness of the weapons. And he's just gonna notice that the sleeve, the janitorial sleeve that has been on the table for most of the conversation, it's got roaches moving in and out of the sleeve. And there are more sort of dropping through a window and from the ceiling onto the floor.
Would he know that things like this can happen with would he know that Nosferatu can do stuff like this?
Well, he's been around a bunch of highfalutin folk, so he might not have ever seen what a Nosferatu who is plagued with infestation has to deal with, but he's probably heard about it, considering that his mala is Ventrue.
He's gonna look over and be like, "Are these yours, or are we being watched?"
No, these are mine.
Those are very impressive claws, though. I'm impressed that you can grow them. There's hope for you yet.
I'm offended.
You're finally offended. You're finally offended. This entire time I've been...
I may have been raised by a Ventrue, but that doesn't mean I'm not still a warrior, and these are very useful.
Well, then perhaps we should spar sometime. Put them to the test. Maybe I can teach you a thing or two.
I think you might. You might be able to put me through my paces, but maybe. But maybe that would be a fun time. Mm-hmm. However, that being said, are you sure all of these are yours?
It isn't as though I can summon them at will. They appear wherever I happen to be. I can assure you that there is no other Nosferatu in the city that is plagued by infestation, and I can assure you of that for an absolute certainty. Because other than myself, there are 1.5 other Nosferatu that exist in this city.
What do you mean by 1/2?
How familiar are you with the myriad crimes of the usurpers?
No.
Philadelphia is home to at least one gargoyle.
God, that poor thing.
He is treated well, he is protected, and he has his own domain.
Still. Well, if he's treated fine, then I suppose that's fine. But
which brings me to one last hint before you make yourself comfortable for the daylight hours. It is unwise, unless you are accompanied by a member of the court, to venture very far below ground.
below ground, like sewers and caves?
Sewers, caves, old bunker networks. Those are the domain of the being that we were just speaking of.
Well, you don't have to tell me twice. I don't know if I would want to be underground anyways. However, like, does this also involve, like, if I buy a building that has a basement, I can't use the basement?
If the basement is not connected to any of the rest of the underground, you would be fine.
Okay. Okay. I can handle that. I think. Yeah, that should
There
be
is
fine.
a network of bunkers and tunnels.
They call it the Undercity.
A Cold War relic. They call it the Undercity, and those connections, as well as the sewer and subway connections, are the domain of Quasimodo. It is inadvisable to enter that domain without ready access to a descendant of Zelios.
There any other creepy crawlies around here I need to know about, then?
Yes.
So would you like to inform me?
Unless you have a penchant for dealing With those who passed on, I would avoid the elevated rail.
Lovely, lovely. I knew ghosts were gonna come up. Lovely. I really need to talk to a Toreador or something about fixing that.
There are also two parts, and out of character. Storyteller can't remember because the storyteller has brain damage, but that's okay. I will put it in your channel, I promise. There are also two parks in that area there. They likely have a guru infestation. Wiser to just leave them alone. It is my understanding that eventually the prince would like to see emissaries to them.
Emissaries to lupines?
Yes. We did mention that this prince is unusual.
Not to mention, after their little coup, they're kind of low on armed support, as it were. So hard to steal and hard to launch an all-out war without people to fight it.
Are you sure he's not Malkavian? He sounded more like a Malkavian with every word. Just a little crazy. Everything else was fine. It sounded mighty fine. The lupine sort of throw me off.
Is this a bad time to mention that his wife has adopted a... Well, are you familiar with the fair folk?
They're real? No legends?
The emissary to the clanless in the city boasts a pair of insectile antennae and two pair of dragonfly wings.
Y'all got a goddamn fae on the court? I am so confused and impressed, but mostly confused.
This is a city for the unique. It is commonly said that Prince Sexton nurtures a certain soft spot for cripples, bastards, and broken things.
I think I'm gonna like him. I really think I am. Still confused though. Still really confused. So yeah, I think this is a perfect place for me, honestly. I think I couldn't have fit in somewhere better. Oh, quick question. Has the maker of the gargoyles been dealt with, or am I going to have to go on a killing spree?
They have long since been put to death.
Then that's all taken care of. Not worried about that. You won't have to worry about me going on a killing spree. Lovely.
There used to be 3. Quasimodo is the only remaining.
Well, this Quasimodo, it seems to be a lucky kindred.
Should you be invited to visit his domain, I would suggest bringing a gift. Like
So
any
treat
true
him
like any true descendant of Zelios, the man is a builder. He likes Legos.
he wouldn't happen to that. Bring him a gift like he's a dragon.
He I'm not entirely sure of the recipes that are used to create beings like him. Just that it would be polite. And the man likes Legos.
Got it. Keep in mind, bring the man Legos. Well, that's one thing we can get along on. Legos are quite interesting.
What are Legos?
They're little plastic bricks that you.
Building blocks.
Mm. Why not just? That's probably not. I come from an age when we used stone and mortar and all that fun stuff. So,
Well, they're like
plastic is a new concept for me still.
They're like this big. They're not like this big. They're like this big. They're tiny. You use them to make little tiny houses. It's quite fun. Maybe I'll show you sometime. You can show me the great outdoors, and I can show you more civilized things.
Oh, that might make my ghoul feel a lot more happier, because I tend to ask him all the questions about these modern times we find ourselves in. I've been awake for a while, but just some things you don't get the hang of,
Believe me, I understand. Still getting used to modern technology, as it were, but
probably still have a better handle on than I do. I can text on these. She'll just kind of like pick up this phone, and it's this old fucking Nokia flip phone thing, and she's kind of holding it like it's gonna bite her or something. Just be like, I can open this up and find names and type the messages, but that's about it. And occasionally call people. That's about all I figured out.
we need to get you an upgrade before that thing becomes a masquerade breach. We got to keep the silence, okay?
If you can teach me how to use one of the little pad devices that pass for phones these days, I welcome the effort.
I think that's out of my realm, out of my sphere. But maybe your little buddy Ghoul can. Maybe I think he might be better at it.
Oh, so you're saying you want lessons too? I'm sure he'd be happy to include you on those. We can have a bit of a bonding experience. I can show you a bit of the wilds. We can get up on our technology. We'll have you running naked through the woods before the end of the year.
I think I'll pass on the running naked through the woods. I have a reputation to uphold.
I'm gonna see you in the fucking woods.
Well, a lot of people could see me in the woods. The only place I swim naked is when I'm a dolphin.
Oh, so that's what you can turn into. So you call yourself Sharkie, which you can turn into a dolphin.
I didn't come up with the name. It was not my name. It just stuck. And quite honestly, I would rather not come up with a name that comes with a dolphin.
We could always call you Finn, but then everyone might get confused. Because there's another Finn in the city. Irishman.
Oh.
From what I hear.
Oh. Lovely.
He likes to blow things up.
Well, I can help him facilitate that. You buy the building first, you get the permit rights, you get the demolition rights, and you can blow the building up. That way, it keeps him safe.
It keeps him occupied. Perhaps after the fast, we can suggest it to the prince.
That's probably for the best. Suggesting it after the fast. We'll just do it and beg forgiveness later. During the fast.
I'm not sure how well that would work out.
It's a joke, love. I'm not gonna blow anything up while the prince is hungry. I feel like that would be a bad plan.
You do have a smart head on your shoulders. You should definitely keep it there.
Or try to. Before we depart, eh, there there will be opportunity for you to meet the other two members of staff before we introduce ourselves to Prince Sexton and the court.
Well,
So far, we have a Samitsi who will be joining us, as well as, oh heavens, what is it that they're calling themselves now? A Setite.
The ministry, I believe, is a term I heard thrown around. Oh, snake, for lack of a better word.
I love me a snake. See, I'm a little hesitant on. Those dragons are a little finicky, but I'm certain we'll get along fine.
This one has been amongst Sanctuary for quite some time.
So they've been tamed, is what I'm hearing.
They perhaps the closest equivalence would be housebroken.
Well, so long as they don't turn me or somebody I care about into a chair, I'll be fine.
I would be more worried about that with the Seneschal.
Can she turn people into it? I thought you said she was a Nosferatu.
The prince's wife is a Nosferatu, the keeper of Elysium.
And she can turn people into chairs.
The
That ain't...
Seneschal is an 8-foot-tall being who dresses in naught but armor and walks around during court duties displaying 6 arms.
I thought Seneschal's not the one. Oh, that's a first. That's normally from my knowledge of the Camarilla, usually the married partner winds up being the Seneschal. It's a separate person. It's a separate person, and that person has 6 arms.
Yes.
Maybe I might want to go home. maybe I should turn around. This seems a little out of pocket.
Hence why it was suggested that a member of the staff be among the Tzimitzi. You see the utility?
I suddenly see the utility. Maybe it would be wise. Maybe we should be given a brief on what we should know to not offend this Seneschal. Before...
You not worry about making eye contact. This Seneschal has no eyes.
I think that was meant to be reassuring. I can assure you it was not.
I'm certain you'll be able to keep your eye on the ball, as it were.
They are referred to as La Ranier. They do not speak above a word or two, and even then solely in Latin.
I'm gonna have to learn Latin. All right.
And
All right.
I am fairly certain that they are understood, that they understand English. They just choose not to utilize that language to speak.
That makes sense. I don't know why that makes sense, but that makes sense. God, elders are weird.
Yes,
Mhm.
they have the life experience to facilitate their weirdness.
I would suppose.
Yes.
The more the more you're describing this city, the more I feel like I'm stepping into an archbishopric, honestly.
It is an interesting.
Leo, I'm excited to get started then. We can do a little bit of do some fun stuff. I can take out some of the prince's enemies. I can do some bodyguard duties. I can make myself nice and useful to the city, I think. I think it's in a prime spot for a new investor to come in.
Indispensability would certainly make things safer for you, so long as you were careful not to step on toes.
Well, you never want to be too indispensable. Then they start looking at you like a threat.
So, for funsies, just in case I didn't describe it very well, this is what he would have described as the seneschal.
It was described pretty well, but that is horrifying. uh, plant. Uh, um, yeah, you never want to be too indispensable. People start looking at you like a threat when you're indispensable, and then they start looking to knock you down. You want to just be one peg below indispensable, at least until you actually are completely indispensable.
That seems wise. Were there any questions that you had before I allow you to settle in for the day?
No, but y'all been given a lot of information about the city. Don't have any questions for me. I'm certain you've got a file on me somewhere.
Of course.
How about you, Naomi?
She will get off the desk and just kind of walk behind him, and then she'll stop on his other side and she'll just lean over and just too much city. Need to get you out in the woods, maybe take you up to summer camp. I'd love to get up there. Barely believe the fun you could have there.
I so love the city.
City gangrel.
Isn't the camp home to that woman that throws you all out of trees?
Oh, it's a good time.
Maybe, if you can work it out and make certain that my businesses aren't going to take a hit from my absence, sort of pain through gritted teeth because he knows Naomi's really old. Not to offend an elder, at least not in a manner that they won't understand as joking. Maybe if we can make certain my businesses are well taken care of, they won't suffer my absence. I might be persuaded to take a trip up to summer camp for a night or two.
Well, if you set them up right, I'm sure they'll just run themselves. And she'll just kind of reach out. She won't touch your nose, but she basically does an air boop. And we can just make sure that, no one fucks with it while you're gone. So, I'm sure you're very competent at what you do.
Quite competent.
Good.
Besides, people
Excellent.
fuck with it. It just means that I have the right to fuck with them back.
Indeed.
If anything, I know I know you told me not to choke out the competition. However, if I get attacked first, it's not choking out the competition. It's just retaliation.
Correct. And, of course, the laws of sanctuary would still apply, at least to members of staff and likely to at least the prince and the keeper of Elysium.
Make sure to keep those in mind then, since the laws of sanctuary are being applied.
And even that is mostly somewhat, it is subjective. If injury is done to you, we cannot necessarily guarantee that it will be immediately addressed by the Senor or by the powers of the system, as we are not currently within the domain of the system, you see. So take it as guidelines.
Understandable.
We will do them no injury until they injure us, and in which case we will retaliate. Swiftly.
And brutally. Well, if there are no questions for me, and I have no question. Well, actually, that does prompt a question. The rules of sanctuary say no injury, but that's applied very broadly. Yeah. And I recognize we're not in the domain of sanctuary. However, I am, as a member of the sanctuary staff, meant to spread those ideals outside as well. Should that apply to the prince's enemies as well, or do I have carte blanche to act against them directly?
Of course, the prince's enemies would not be members. Those laws apply only to our own.
All right. Then that is understood. I'll keep that in mind. I'll consider members of the Camarilla, if they are not members, honorary members at the very least. And anybody who is an enemy of Prince Sexton will lose that title.
Probably wise.
Understood.
Very well. I will leave you to get ready for the day, and given your stated preference for not being alone in the room with Naomi, I recommend you utilize your key.
I will go. I'll go inspect my quarters. Thank you both. It has been a wonderful time meeting you. And it has been a wonderful time meeting you, Miss McDowell. Naomi, I have a feeling we're going to get to know each other very well over the next little bit.
Oh, yes. Quite. It's going to be a fun little adventure, you and me. We'll give you some wings yet.
I'm going to find myself falling out of tall buildings, aren't I?
It depends on if you trip.
I feel threatened.
If you didn't, I'd think there's something wrong with you. So it's a sign that you have a healthy fear.
Well, I'm going to go. I'm going to make certain that, entries and exits to my quarters are secure, and I'm going to keep a sharp eye out. Do we have any protocol for getting in and out of our personal quarters beyond just going through the gift shop?
Yes, I handed you the map. There is a back entrance, a service entrance that leads directly down into staff quarters. Typically, they're places to stay for the actors during haunt season, but since this is not the busy season, several floors are open for our use.
So find a haven before the busy season. Got it.
Yes.
Well, have a wonderful night, both of you. I'm going to be keeping my eye out for a large black raven from now on.
That's fine.
Crow.
Crow, raven, difference of size.
Ravens are typically much smaller.
I wouldn't be surprised if she could also turn into a raven. Just to catch me off guard.
No, that's accurate. I wouldn't be shocked either.
I bid you both adieu.
Good day.
And he steps out the door. He does not turn his back to Naomi, though. Because he did call her Miss McDowell, and she did say that she would kill him for that. So he does not turn his back to Naomi as he opens up the door and walks away.
And with that, we're going to dismiss the demon. Demon!
Goodbye, demon.